Your 7 key relationships. Third, spouse or partner. When I first started talking about the 7 key relationships, I actually called it 5 key relationships because I took family as one, but I was always breaking that down into different subcategories within family. Not all family is created equal, and that's why we're doing 7 key relationships, because each one deserves its own place. And this one is your most important family relationship, bar none. The relationship you have with your spouse, your significant other, your partner. We hear it all the time, family first. In fact, I tell my team that if there's ever anything that's going on with their family that they need to attend to, that is by far more important than anything we're doing here at Live on Purpose. Family first. Well, in the context of our key relationships, I guess it's third, because that's where family kicks in. But how do we prioritize those family relationships? Let me give you a little context here, because in my career, I've had the opportunity to work with lots of families in lots of different contexts and situations, including some of the most difficult family conflicts that you can even imagine. For 13 years, I did child custody evaluations for the court, where I was identified as the expert witness appointed by the court to go in, assess the situation, and make recommendations on how these two divorcing parents could share their kids. And they never agreed on that topic. That's yuck work. I found that a lot of people got into that situation because some of their key relationships were placed out of order. One young couple that I worked with, for example, was struggling through a child custody evaluation. If you back up a few years, it came from some habitual patterns of her placing her relationship with her sisters above the relationship with her spouse. Now, I'm not saying her sisters aren't important. In fact, we're going to get to them, okay? Stick around, that's in another video. But I am saying that her relationship with her spouse needs to be at a little higher level of importance or priority. And the reason for that goes back to my fundamental belief that your spouse or partner is the most important family relationship that you have. This is the only family relationship that you enter into by choice. Have you noticed? You don't get to pick the rest of your family, but you do pick your spouse or your partner. And that is the lasting, more durable unit of the family. Think about your children, for example. What are we doing with our children? We're trying to raise them to the point where they can go out and establish their own family by selecting a partner, a spouse, and creating another family unit. So that couple, that spousal relationship is the fundamental family unit. That's why I put it at this level of importance. So while we're on this level of relationship, I want to give you 3 specific things that you can do to enhance or strengthen or maybe even save this particular key relationship. Number 1, choose love. I'm not talking about love as a feeling or some kind of a poetic concept somewhere. I'm talking about it as a choice. And when you really look at it, every interaction you have with your spouse or partner will be on one side or the other. I don't think there's a neutral option. I think it has to be either love or hate. Now, I use the word hate because people hate the word hate. But just consider for a minute, if it's not love, then what is it? And I don't think there's a neutral option. Somebody challenged me on this once in a training that I was doing with a group of couples in the room. What about indifference? They said. Really? If someone treats you with indifference, what does that feel like to you? Does that feel more like love or more like hate? You with me? So a little or a lot, it has to be one or the other. Now, because that's so important, I'm going to give you 3 quick steps that you can ensure that you're treating your spouse with hate. Okay, just stay with me for a minute. Here we go. Since you don't even know what people are thinking, you have to assume the worst if you're going to make a good hate choice. All right? Just assume that they're out to get you, that they want bad things to happen. practice pride. That's where you need to hang on to the fact that you're right. I had one of my colleagues say once, you can be right or you can be in a relationship. But if you want to make a hate choice, then you just hang on to being right. Okay, practice pride. And then third, think to destroy. Think of ways that you can retaliate or maim or punish or hurt that other person. Okay, that's a hate choice. And I emphasize that on purpose so that you'll see it. Now, what's the contrast? What does it mean to choose love? Let's just use the three opposites. Okay, assume the best. Assume the best. Since you don't know, just assume the best and you will always be in a better position even if you're wrong. Step 2, practice humility. This is where we give up our need to be right in exchange for being open. Just consider how that feels. And then third, think to create, to build or lift or edify that other person. That's what I'm defining as a love choice. Choose love. Here's your second tip for saving and enriching this particular key relationship. Learn effective communication. This is something I work with couples with all the time in our coaching programs or in my office. Effective communication is not easy to do. In fact, there's so many things that can go wrong with communication that it's amazing we even communicate in the first place. I've got 5 quick tips for you on the communication front. First, don't be a bear. Don't come into a communication with your face all snarled up and growling like you're about to eat them for lunch. Don't be a bear. How you show up will trigger reactions in other people. And if you typically get a defensive reaction from somebody, it's probably because they're feeling a little attacked by you. So don't be a bear. Number 2, don't see a bear. Even if they're snarling, this is someone you love. You're not married to a bear. This is someone you chose to spend your life with. So don't see a bear, even if they're snarling. Step 3 is to eliminate the noise. Noise gets in the way of communication. And it can be anything from actual physical noise in your environment. If the TV is on, turn it off. If you've got your phone in your hand, put it down, because that's visual noise and distraction noise. Do you see where I'm going? Get rid of as much noise as you can. That's tip number 3. Number 4, listen to understand. Most people go into a communication wanting to get their point across. And that makes sense. I mean, that's the goal of most communication. But if both people are doing that, nobody's listening. You take the listener role first. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's probably a reason for that ratio. So you be first, okay? Take the higher road. You be the one to listen first to understand. And then the last tip, express to be understood. Notice the goal is the same. It's understanding. And understanding and agreeing are not the same thing. Don't get caught up in that. Your communication will be much more effective if you simply seek to understand and then express to be understood. You're not expressing to persuade or convince or rebut or debate. You simply want to be understood. Okay, so there's 5 quick tips for your communication. Now I've got one more for you, and this is the most powerful way that you can save or enrich this key relationship with your spouse or partner. And I'm going to phrase it this way. Memorize the 9 principles. What 9 principles, you might be asking? Look, I've got you on this. Go to the URL on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/9principles. Number 9, the word principles, all one word, and I will put this in your hands because you're going to need to have something to refer to. Go grab the 9 principles. Here's what they are, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them on this video because your task is simply to memorize them. Why do I want you to memorize them? So you'll have your tools on board. I remember a trip with my family where we were in a rented truck and trailer, and I didn't have my tools with me. We had a blowout on the side of the road in Wyoming, and I didn't have the tools I needed to fix that problem. You want to have your tools on board so that any breakdowns that come up in this key relationship, you'll be ready to handle. So here's what they are, just without explaining any of them. Positivity. Oh, big surprise, right? That's number one. Second, values, shared values. Third, humility, which I define as giving up your need to be right in exchange for being open. We already talked about that a little bit. Fourth, forgiveness. Then after forgiveness, respect, love, compassion, work, and wholesome recreational activities. There you go. Those are the 9. Get them on board. Memorize those so that you have a toolbox ready to fix any breakdowns that occur in this particular key relationship. You're welcome.